countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, it is now time for the Last Comic Shop podcast.
That's right, we are opening up this comic book tent to the newbies, to the chewbies.
What is that?
You guys are gonna let me hold the bag after you told me that was what I was supposed to say?
Can we say that on the
I didn't
internet?
tell you that was what you were supposed to say.
This feels like hazing. No, this is hazing, and I don't appreciate it. I've been on the show enough for like the episode.
He's a big deal. Anyway, we're keeping the lights on for the oldies and moldies that are wondering, can they say that anymore? I don't know. I don't even know what that means.
Pretty sure you could say chewbies. I don't
Is
even
that
know
like
if that's a real word.
The skibbity toilets or the
I
six
hate
sevens,
all of you
or-
except for Nicole so much right now. Oh my god, I hate all of you.
Oh, look at that. Aw, that's George from Shortbox Summary. He's going to be joining us today. I'm the host with the most, Danny Larson. I'm joined by my regular co-host, Chad Smith. My other co-host, Jay Scott, is not here.
He's deep in Chubby country, wherever that is.
In case, as well as my wonderful wife, Nicole. And this is an episode that has been long time coming. That's right. If you can remember way, way back in the dim days of the early 2025, so we had an episode. Everybody was on this show, and we did this draft, this fantasy draft, where we picked teams, and Nicole was like, I love Jessica Jones. And George was like, what's your favorite Jessica Jones book?
The Marvel show on TV.
I don't think I did that. Like, you're making it sound like I saw some chick wearing a Led Zeppelin shirt. I was like, oh, really? What are your 5 favorite Led Zeppelin songs? Like, that wasn't what happened.
No,
just so we're 100.
Curiosity.
The stairs, the one with the hobbits.
Long story short, at that point, Nicole said, look, I got to read some Jessica Jones comics. And George was like, oh, I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to hook you up on this other show. This show, now, 11 months later, we're doing this show. It's Jessica Jones. It's Alias, the first 10 issues. So it's not even called Jessica Jones yet. It's called Alias. I don't even think it's called Alias ... Jessica Jones yet. It's just, which confused me back in the day because there was also a show on ABC called Alias, and I was just like, well,
Jennifer Gardner.
Yeah, early Bradley Cooper. And I understand your confusion about the TV show and the comic, and I'll tell you exactly why. Alias 1 came out September 6th, 2001. The TV show Alias debuted September 30th, 2001. So technically, the comic beat the show to the punch. But I get why there's confusion, because they very, very much overlapped.
And the show was an ABC show, right? But this was decades before ABC bought Marvel. So this is not a lapse in corporate synergy.
So it was absolutely not a lapse in corporate synergy. And it seems like the TV show is won out, which is why this comic is now referred to as Alias ... aka Jessica Jones. That's usually how it's like represented in trades.
Yeah, so we're reading the first 10 issues. Basically, make sure that not only Nicole has an opportunity to read these comic books, but hopefully all of you did your homework before you listened to our show. But one person that does their homework every single week for our show, at least the ones he's on, is George. George likes to tell us about the pop cultures, the movies and the musics and the other comic books that happened about the same time. The Alias issue number 1? Is it 1? Are we doing that, George? What are we doing today?
We are starting at Alias number 1. Came out September 6th, 2001. I'm going to start with the movies because I think the movies were really bad.
Oh, no.
Number 1 at the box office was Don't Say a Word. It made $55 million in the month of September. That is a Michael Douglas movie where he's like a therapist and someone gets kidnapped. Not great. Number 2 at the box office with $45 million in September, Zoolander.
Oh, Zoolander's the best.
Yeah, baby! That's
Nicole.
what I'm waiting for!
Never seen it.
You've never seen it?
I've seen the runway sequence a couple times, but I've actually never watched the whole.
I don't want to be rude. That movie came out 24 years ago. That movie's also like 88 minutes long. Are you telling me you haven't had a spare 88 minutes in the last 24 years?
Not make it to my college dorm room. So.
Fair enough. Number 3 at the box office, raking in a cool $40 million. Hardball, the Keanu Reeves baseball coach movie.
Is that the one with the kid and the gorilla?
See, this is how I know there's a generation gap, because this movie, if you just say the words G-Baby to someone my age, they like immediately like very stoic face, like a single tear goes down their face as soon as you say G-Baby.
G-Babies.
This is different than Moneyball, right?
Yeah, it's also like 10 years before Moneyball. Nicole, what year is
Oh,
it in your head?
Is G-Baby the boxer lady that gets hurt in the ring?
No, that was $1 Million Baby. God damn, you guys are so old.
I know $1 Million Baby.
Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah,
Was
that's
that
a good
on the
one.
list? Can we talk about that movie?
That was like 2005, 2006. The movie's not great. God damn. Okay.
Wasn't that also Jennifer Garner?
Hilary Swank, pull your beautiful head out of your perfect ass, Chad. Damn. God. Number 4 at the box office, making $27 million. The Musketeer. I don't know. This was an adaptation of The Musketeers. I didn't see it. Number 5, Hearts in Atlantis. This was a real heartfelt Anthony Hopkins movie. I think he's a psychic, and then it's like he can like kind of pull memories. It wasn't. It's fine. That's why I started with the movies. Kind of duds at the movies.
Yeah.
Again,
These were real milk duds. I'm not
Yeah.
a big fan of any of these ones.
I'm going to switch to music now. Number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 for, I believe, September 22nd, 2001. Let Me Blow Your Mind by Eve and Gwen Stefani.
Oh, wow. That was...
Banger. Absolute
I'm sure
banger.
Yeah.
Andy White danced to that song in the club.
I'm sure I did something. You danced on speakers.
Number 4 on Billboard's Hot 100 for September 22nd, 2001. Hit 'Em Up Style by Blue Cantrell.
Oh, yes. Buck Wild. I don't even know if Buck Wild is in any other song, but it's in that song. And ladies, when the man wants to get Buck Wild, throw him back, hit him up. I like that. It's got a good beat.
It does
You
have a
lie
good
and
beat.
tell him that you have his child. Do.
Number
That's how it
3
goes.
on Billboard's Hot 100. Call My Lover by Janet Jackson. She was just going by Janet at the time.
That's got that sample from Ventura Highway.
Yeah, really good shit.
Every single time it would come on the radio, I'm like, again, is that Ventura Highway? Like, I'd be all excited to listen to some America. And then there's, and the rest of the song's good, but it's like a heavy sample. Like, it's at least like 45 seconds of the song. Ventura Highway in the sunshine.
But when was the Janet Super Bowl?
2005 for the 2004 season. I
Okay.
believe.
Now it says this was the first Patriots Super Bowl, 2001, right?
2001 was the first Patriots Super Bowl. That was them over Greatest Show on Turf. I'm a Pats fan. Song number 2 on Billboard's Hot 100. I'm Real by Jennifer Lopez featuring Ja Rule. Nicole, I saw you vibing pretty hard to that track. Does that song mean anything to you by any chance?
And that's just all college to me. So
Hell yeah. That is all 5th and 6th grade to me, but that was just like...
going to this in 5th and 6th grade.
There wasn't a lot to do in Maine, but there was B97.1 FM and Z107.3 in my area. And man, that was back when I had a 28K modem, and it was really hard to download songs off of Kazaa and LimeWire, so I had to call into the radio and request songs at the top 5 at 9, and then record them to a mixtape, and then sell those mixtapes at school to make money to buy Pokemon cards, because that was what 2001 was like for me in a nutshell.
Wow. This is a whole saga.
It's so awesome to not be the baby.
It is true.
I'm always the baby.
You are usually the baby on these shows. Then we have George, and then...
Yeah. Number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 was Fallen by Alicia Keys. That's a hot song, man. It's just like pretty soulful. It's just so good.
It was part of that era of really cool female singers on pianos. Like her, and then the Nelly Furtados, and then
Nora Jones a few years later.
Yeah, like all of them playing like such gorgeous voices.
All bangers, and I just want to point out too, all 5 of those Billboard Hot 100 top 5, all women. The only dude making an appearance, Ja Rule, as a feature on that J-Lo song.
That was a sweet top 5. Much better than the movies,
Yeah,
George.
the movies were less.
Yeah.
I mean, Zoolander's back probably hurts from carrying that top 5. And again, people my age do have a soft spot for Hardball. I get it.
Back in the day, you could have rented it on Netflix and gotten that DVD in the mail.
That's true, yeah. So those were the movies, those were the songs. Nicole, I know you're not up comic book as much as Andy and Chad and I are. So that's why I wanted to start with the exciting stuff. And now I'm going to shift to the boring stuff for you. But I think exciting stuff to our listeners. September 2001, as always, I go to comichron.com. An amazing resource, especially for this era of comics where all this wonderful data was collated. The number one comic book selling for that month, 135,000 issues, Wolverine The Origin #1.
That was the jump. So yeah, Joe Q wanted to get the Wolverine origin out there in comic book form before the movies did it.
Number 2, New X-Men issue 118, selling 127,000 issues. That is 3 issues in to the Grant Morrison, Frank Wiley run, I believe. I think it started with 115, so this is the end of the E for Extinction arc.
Is this the Emma Frost cover or the Wolverine one?
I think this is the Wolverine one, but this is where Genosha gets absolutely decimated by that Tri-Sentinel.
This is a series I should have read. I will be blunt. I never read any of the Grant Morrison X-Men. And it's because I think I knew the big swerve ahead of time. So it's kind of like, well, why should I read this if I know the big swerve already? But like,
fair enough.
Mikey Wood gives me shit all the time because that's his favorite X-Men run. Absolute favorite.
Of course, it's his favorite X-Men run. That makes perfect sense. I didn't know Astonishing X-Men, which was like the premier X-Men book when I first got into comics. I didn't know it was like a direct sequel. So there was a whole bunch of stuff that didn't make sense. And then going back and reading this run, I'm like, oh no, now it makes absolute sense. So it's good stuff. I can't recommend it enough. Number 3, Uncanny X-Men 398, selling 121,000 copies. I believe this is like the legacy virus when Colossus is about to die.
Colossus died?
With the legacy virus, he like sacrifices himself to save all of mutant kind.
Well,
God, J.A. is rolling over in his job chair
I didn't read any X-Men. I'm not the X-Men guy. That's a timeout. How did Colossus come back then?
That was in the Joss Whedon Astonishing X-Men run.
He just said, screw that, like...
No, it was Ord of Breakworld. God, tell me you've never read a comic without telling me you've never read a comic before, Andy.
Someone plays favorites.
I don't read X-Men, brother. I have went on record.
No, that's why I was really confused. I like recognize this guy from like the cartoon, from like random comics I read. I was like, oh, he's back? Why is this a big deal? I didn't know. Number 4 on the charts, Ultimate X-Men issue 10, selling 127,000 copies. Number 5, Extreme X-Men issue number 5, selling 96,000.
God!
That's why I did that. I did the top 5 because they're all X-Men books. That's all anyone cared about in September 2001.
Andrew didn't.
See, that's why there was like a period when I didn't read comics because like if everybody was, damn it, like why is everybody so into the X-Men?
That video game a little bit?
I played the video game on the PlayStation 2.
Oh, X-Men Legends?
Yeah, that was great.
That was awesome. We should all, honestly, can we do a video game episode where we play X-Men Legends?
Is that the one where you have to restart it halfway through? And
no, that's the Genesis one where you have to hit the reset button.
This was Diablo with X-Men. It was incredible.
It was the precursor
to Ultimate Alliance.
Yes, the precursor to Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah, I think it was Raven Software, the guys over in Minneapolis or Wisconsin. Really good video game developer who unfortunately now is just doing like Call of Duty DLC because Activision bought them out. But this was an Activision game and it was incredible. And I want to do that on my podcast. I'll do it for yours if that's the only way we'll do it. But it's whatever. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 6 more issues just for context for everything. Issue number 6, best-selling for September 2001. Amazing Spider-Man 35, selling 89,999 copies, basically. So this is the most important non-mutant book from Marvel, right?
The JMS stuff was hot out of the gate, though. They had those Scott Campbell covers. And, people were clamoring for that. But I was going to mention, too, with the X-Men, as great as the Grant Morrison run on X-Men is, I still think it kind of breaks the X-Men. And then you end up with things like Hawks and Pox. We're like, oh, the X-Men are broken now. Let's just tell these wild stories.
Number 27 best-selling issue with 52,000 copies, Alias issue number 1.
Wow.
And I've got 2 more books for you just to show you what the state of the industry was. The 37th best-selling issue, so 10 worse than Alias, Batman 595. Sold 43.8 thousand copies. This was the Ed Brubaker, Scott McDaniel era.
I've never read any of those, and they could be the best books because it's Ed Brubaker, and Ed Brubaker's so good, and Scott McDaniel.
Detective Comics 762 was number 42 best-selling book of the month. So my point is just Alias can't outsell X-Men, but outsold Batman, Detective Comics. Also, I didn't write it down. Outsold Superman, outsold Action Comics. Like Alias came onto the scene in September 2001 and it was outselling some of the heaviest hitting heroes from DC, which I just think is really neat.
But Marvel was hot. Marvel was hot. Super hot. Nobody was reading DC at that time, I feel like.
Which makes perfect sense as we jump into Alias.
Yeah. And we'll have that book right after this commercial break. So stay tuned for more Last Comic Shop. Thanks so much to George for giving us the movies, the music, and some really good comic book talk. I am sure that all of this is going to influence our discussion with Nicole, who wanted to read Alias right after these commercial breaks.
Looking to save money on your collectible supplies? Whether it's comics, cards, sports memorabilia, or miscellaneous pop culture bric-a-brac, make sure to use promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off your orders at bcwsupplies.com. Not only does it get you a discount on BCW's already low prices, but using LCSPOD at checkout is an amazing way to show support to the Last Comic Shop podcast, the most incredible comic book podcast on the airwaves. So if you are in need of collectible supplies, head out to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code LCSPOD today. That's promo code LCSPOD. Cheers!
Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, Naruto, all things that we love, all manga that were originally published in the legendary magazine Weekly Shonen Jump.
But not every series can run for 300 chapters and have a hit anime. This is David.
This is Jordan.
We're the hosts of Shonen Flop. Each episode we look at manga that ran in Jump that didn't quite make it.
We discuss what it did wrong, what it did right, how the series could have turned itself around, and ultimately, was it a flop or not?
We're on all your favorite podcast apps, and you can find us at shonenflop.com.
Keep on flopping, floppers.
All right, we're back with more of the Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for our Read Pile Review. Yes, that time when we go and talk about a book that we've been teasing for months. That's right, months. Nicole's been like, when am I going to read Jessica Jones? Am I going to read Jessica Jones yet? Is the next book Jessica Jones? And I'm like, just wait. Just wait. Now it's here. Yay!
Woo.
You gotta be excited. Come on. It's a year of Nicole pick. See, I even gave you a fanfare and everything. Everybody gets a fanfare with their years of people's names. Any case, we're going to have the year of George give us who worked on these 10 issues of Alias, a.k.a. Jessica Jones.
Oh, man, put your shoes on, because the list of creators is kind of a walk. It was written by Brian Michael Bendis. The artist was Michael Gaydos. Matt Hollingsworth was the colorist. Bill Sienkiewicz is responsible for the sidekick art. Richard Starkings and Comic Crafts, Wes Abbott, Oscar Gongora are the letterers, and Jason Levine specifically is credited with contributing to issue 10. David Mack, one of my favorite artists of all time, is the cover artist. Stuart Moore is the editor for the first 9 issues. Joe Quesada and C.B. Cebulski, along with Stuart Moore, are credited with issue 10 going forward. Kelly Lamy was the associate managing editor, and Nancy DeKejian was the managing editor for this book.
Yeah, and if you're going to pick this up, you can get it in a trade, but it's kind of weird. So we're doing the first 10 issues, and you get the first 9 in a trade paperback, Alias, Jessica Jones, Volume 1. But then you have to skip ahead to like Volume 3 to get issue 10. Now, some people might be upset that I included issue 10. The reason why I did that is because that particular issue was ranked among Wizards' top 100 single issues of all time, a list they released in 2006, which I still go back to and be like, I need to read that. I need to read that. I need to read that.
As much grief as Wizard gets, there were some shining gems in there. Like, they had some really cool lists, and they had some really cool like pictures they commissioned.
I understand the frustration about like why is issue 10 included in volume 3? And the reason is because issue 10, spoilers, deals with Jonah Jameson. And now Jonah Jameson doesn't show back up until around issue 16. So it's included with volume 3 because it's more relevant to that story. that takes place in Volume 3 than it is the story that takes place in Volume 2, which is excellent, and you should read and might come up during our recommendations.
Well, let's give Nicole an opportunity to talk on this podcast. We're going to give her the 10-cent synopsis.
We're going to call it a 30-cent synopsis because this really does cover 3 somewhat distinct stories. Jessica Jones, for those who don't know, kind of a superhero that's hung up her pink costume for a while, and she is working at her private investigation firm, Alias. So in the first story, a woman comes to her saying that she can't find her sister. So of course Jessica easily finds her, and upon going to collect evidence, that this woman is seeing Captain America. And so she has uncovered the identity of Captain America, and she doesn't know what to do with this tape that she's found, and she gets this really fishy feeling about like the lady who hired her, and it turns out after a series of events the woman got murdered after Captain America ran off. Jessica Jones is brought in for questioning to the police. Turns out this is just all political warfare, right? So there are people who are backing a presidential candidate who is anti-superhero, essentially, and they were trying to manipulate Jessica Jones into exposing Captain America, and she essentially reverse blackmails them, I guess, and the candidate ends up dropping out through her sleuthness.
Plus, there was like Black Hawk helicopters that like shot everybody on a golf course. You're forgetting that part.
Yeah, that too. The second story then turns to a woman who is looking for her husband, who, is supposedly the sidekick of the Hulk and Captain America, I think.
Rick Jones.
Rick Jones.
And she's like, he's related to you, and Jessica Jones is like, is he? And long story short, she finds him too playing at a coffee house or a bar or something, and it turns out that he's delusional and he's not the real Rick Jones, and they're both kind of crazy. But long story short, she reunites them and all is good. And then I happen to be a favorite of the third story, which is the 10th issue. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Third story is Jessica Jones get hired by J. Jonas Jameson,
the publisher of the Daily Bugle.
Yes, to try to find Spider-Man. He's going after the superheroes again, and so he kind of hires her to follow Spider-Man around, and then he's got Ben Ulrich to follow her and then make the story. And long story short, she decides to just spend the newspaper's money doing good for people and clouding it off as expenses and getting the best of J. Jonah Jameson.
Buying lots of tapioca pudding.
For the homeless. She swindles him into doing good, and he can't do nothing about it.
Parker, I want puddings. Pudding cups for everybody. It's interesting that you said that the last one was your favorite. And it's got like a character.
It's like a short story with like a great little moral twist to it. I thought the art was different too. Was that a different artist?
It's worth it for the best character in comics, J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, I did forget to mention in the first story, she does get it on with Luke Cage.
Yes.
To relieve her stress.
Right.
And he did a great job.
Cape Chaser.
As long as he gets the job done.
Hey, and it's amazing. See, that's the thing. Like, I know that it's been several years since you watched the Jessica Jones TV show, but there were a lot of things that they did in that particular show that are mirrored by this series. In this particular book, her relationship with Carol Danvers, Ms. Marvel, later on Captain Marvel. They couldn't get Captain Marvel for the Jessica Jones TV show, so they replaced her with Patsy Walker, the Hellcat character. But it's pretty much the same character. Like, it's like this girl that she goes out to coffee with and talks about dudes, and then there's like Luke Cage is there, and like you were a huge fan of the TV show. How'd you like the comic book compared to the TV show?
I think what disappointed me was a lack of an enemy, right? What I think the TV show did so well, and particularly Purple Man, that constant enemy that she was going up against. Whereas these were kind of just stories about investigations and the anti-Cape, presidential candidate and stuff. But there wasn't really someone that she was, quote, fighting per se. And maybe that's just because this is my first venture into her stories. I mean, the detective, the PI part of her story is a big part of the TV show as well. And I did like that they pulled in Matt Murdock as her attorney and all these things that brought me back to the TV show. But yeah, I just didn't have that villain there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give the hot take, and then I'm going to turn it over to Chad and George. Baby, let's go! Although I like these particular 10 issues, I agree that, like, Jessica Jones has one story. She has the Purple Man story. Like, that's the only one that's really interesting. That's why I didn't watch Jessica Jones season 2 or 3, because after they killed the Purple Man, I didn't really care. There's one really good story for Jessica Jones. Everything else is kind of like Brian Michael Bendis telling crime noir stuff, which is fine. Never been a huge Bendis fan, but I can get it how people love that. We'll start off with Chad, because I'm sure he's going to say, "You're wrong, sir," and this is why. Chad?
I'm a big Brian Bendis fan, and so I do enjoy this book. It definitely comes out as, you know, crime noir tropes, and you start off with the screw-up detective. You know, she's at her lowest point, and she's building herself back up, starting to become a reasonable human again. But it was weird reading this today with 25 additional years of perspective. Because when this stuff came out, Bendis books were all the hotness because here's this guy who writes this dialogue that sounds like how real people would talk. Real, mature audiences, you know, where there's sex in these books. There's Jessica Jones going to the bathroom and, you know, reading stuff. Like, it's weird and, like, grown up. It's real life, right? Even down to the art. And here you have Michael Gaydos. On Daredevil, you would get Michael Lark. And both of them, they're photo tracers, right? Where they are obviously working from, you know, models and tracing the real life people to be their heroes. It's a lot of talking heads. There's not a ton of action in Bendis books as much as there is dialogue and witty repartee and, you know, people that deservedly so getting their comeuppance, you know, from these super flawed heroes. And I like all that stuff. But reading it 25 years later, there were parts in the stories where I was like, oh, man, I don't know if white guy Brian Bendis should get a pass for writing these stories. It didn't seem as authentic as it did to me whenever I read this stuff back in the early 2000s. So I can definitely see with time how it might have aged a little bit cringier. And to Nicole's point, I think... One, you don't have Kristen Ritter, who is incredibly charming and charismatic, whether it's, you know, the Don't Trust the Bee from Apartment 3 or whatever her show was, you know, leading into Jessica Jones. You know, she has, a beauty and a charisma and a snark all to her own that made her perfect for Jessica Jones. But at the same time, like the real life models that Michael Gaydos is photo tracing, they're not that.
I think, too, like, you can tell the story maybe without the villain or without a whole lot of action, per se. You can do the detective stories, but I just found her to be flat. Like, I didn't see the charisma. I didn't see, like, the wit. Like, finding the people was too easy, and maybe that was part of the one story, was that it was supposed to be easy for her to find them. But I just didn't see her utilizing anything remotely interesting. And, you know, all we see of her superpowers is she, like, crushes a glass in the bar and, like, you know, guys, you know, get out of here, you cape or whatever. But, you know, we didn't really get to see her use any of her, like, individuality to solve these cases or to do anything to move the stories forward. And so I was just kind of not very interested in her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. So here's the thing. And I was thinking about this because remember when we talked about Somna? That book, I feel like, is successful because of the vibe. And that was the word I don't think we had when we were on that show. But the vibe of that book is what carries it through and makes it interesting and makes it something that's worthwhile to talk about. Even though the execution sometimes might be a little like, oh, it's the Salem witch trial. But it was the fact that it had that vibe. And Bendis books had that vibe. And you're jumping into the Jessica Jones story very early on where she's still like, she's not impressive yet. Super screwed up. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like,
I'll trust you on it.
As part of her arc, she has to build up to become impressive.
All right, I can take that.
Like, I'm not trying to be rude when I say this, but, like, here's why you guys are wrong. I think this comic reminded me why I love comics so much because it's not the plot that matters, it's the characters that matter. And so I totally get your frustration, Nicole, about like not having like an antagonist, not having like a goal to build towards. But like we see this person who is very realistic, especially compared to characters that were being written about at the time, right? Like this sounded like someone you knew. This sounded like someone in your life. This sounded the way people actually talked. This wasn't Captain America doing like the hi-ho chum, which like I know he wasn't doing at the time, because this is when Marvel Knights was really taking over the whole Marvel experience, and it was a more grounded world outside your window approach to Marvel. But this book, you see this like broken, shattered person, and like that was my drive to figure out like what makes this person tick. I don't need an external conflict to be interested to flip to the next issue, the way I feel like 99% of comics are done now. I was re-enamored with Jessica Jones, just trying to figure out like, man, why does she suck? Why is she cool? Why is she horny? Why is she drunk? Like I was just trying to like remember, because I haven't read this book since I was probably in high school, maybe like early college. I read all 4 volumes, read all 28 issues, I think there are, of this book. And it was just like so refreshing to see like long form storytelling where the plot wasn't the point, the progress of the character was the point. Like this is not how modern stories are told. And I made like a little timeline of books, and I'm sorry this is going to sound like research again, and Nicole, your eyes are going to glaze over, I'm really sorry, but like this is like an important list of events that I think happen over a 10-year period in terms of comics and pop culture in general. First important thing, October 14th 1994, Pulp Fiction releases. Jessica Jones and the characters in this book, I think, talk like Jules in Pulp Fiction. Like, I think it really feels like, what do they call like a Big Mac in France? Like, oh, they call it Le Big Mac. What do they call a quarter pounder with cheese? You know, like it feels very just like happenstance conversation. January 10th, 1999, The Sopranos, episode 1 debuts, where all of a sudden we have a mob boss, but this dude's in therapy, where it's just like, this is an unexpected way to see a very familiar trope. Planetary issue 1 comes out February 3rd, 1999. This is taking comic books and decompressing them, treating it more like archaeology, treating it more like a actual survey of pop culture. Issue 1 of The Authority comes out a few weeks later, March 10th, 1999. Deconstruction of superheroes and like looking at them as weapons of mass destruction as opposed to actual symbols, I guess, of good versus evil. Daredevil 26, Brian Michael Bendis' first run on Daredevil as a regular writer, as Chad pointed out earlier, December 15th, 2001. The Wire, episode 1, comes out June 2nd, 2002. Gotham Central, issue 1, December 4th, 2002. Alias 27, October 1st, 2003. The Pulse, number 1, which is Brian Michael Bendis and I think Mark Bagley doing like a Jessica Jones, Luke Cage involved story, hired by J. Jonah Jameson to work at the Daily Bugle to do like
they bring them into the Marvel universe.
Their online feature. That's when they really get injected. And then New Avengers issue 1, December 1st, 2004. Taking something extraordinary like the Marvel universe and then decalcifying it, like taking all of these like incredible features about it and stripping it down and making it more realistic. And I think this book is like the text, right? Like creating this superhero who has been there the entire time, but this is just someone who wanted to disappear. And then we find out why she wants to disappear and later. So I know I'm infecting the review of the first 10 issues with my impression of the entire run. But man, this book knocked me on my ass going back to it, man. I gotta be honest with you guys. Like, this is why I got into comics. This is why I kept reading comics the last 25 years. There's a rumor that Bendis is gonna get back to Marvel next year in 2026, and sign me up, man. Season tickets for that dude. Like, rereading this, I'm like, no, I will go down with the ship, man. Like, I even liked your Justice League stuff. No one else did. I don't care. I liked your Superman. Event Leviathan was amazing. Like, you've got me hook, line, and sinker. This book is the prototext of why these books matter to me so much.
Well, no, so I'm going to ask you on this. So this is a reread for you, right? So this is my first time. Mm-hmm. Do you think that we cut off at a bad place? Because I don't feel like she developed it. I do like that you saw some of her neurosis in there, right? Like you saw a lot of that self-talk and self-doubt in her. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at a page where she's, especially when they're kind of trying to trap her into the whole first story of framing her essentially, and you can see the wheels turning, but like again, maybe it's just because we stopped after the first 3 stories at whatever 10 issues. Because I don't see it. And I'm wondering how much of yours is nostalgia because you already know the course it's going to take, and then you did read the whole thing. So, like, what if you just stopped where we stopped? I don't feel like I got that much character development, to be honest, in the first couple.
I think you're right. I think that character development comes from probably specifically Volume 4. That's where we get Jessica Jones's like origin story.
Yeah,
that's
where
we
that 200 pages down the road from where we.
Yeah, no, and I hate to be that guy. Like, no, season 4 is really good. Just watch the first 3. Like, that sucks. Like that's like the worst recommendation you can give to someone.
Well, I think we are so used to television shows, right? Where obviously, like, they're trying to hook you so that they can get another season renewed and stuff, and so you get a little bit more of a grab at the beginning compared to this, which I wouldn't say necessarily grabbed me, even knowing the show that I've seen.
The reason you like the season 1 of Jessica Jones so much is because they took this entire volume and turned it into a TV show. I'm floored rereading this book. And I hate to sound like a homer. I know this is like my sweet spot. This is why I do the podcast that I do, talking about books from the mid 2000s and early 2000s and whatnot. But I'm just like, holy shit, man. Like, this is the home run.
Right. Seabiscuit times a million. Let's stop and talk a little bit about Bendis in general. Because he was part of that era, along with your Ed Brubakers, along with your Matt Fractions, part of a wave that kind of redefined comics for a good portion of the early 2000s, and especially Marvel. Bendis, one of the primary things he was known for at that time, and I know it drives a lot of older comic fans crazy, was the decompressed storytelling. And this is something that I feel like Nicole's bringing up, that a lot of comic fans took umbrage with. When you get a Bendis story, it takes 6 issues, and you're still not sure you got a full story.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely a very valid argument, with the Bendis stuff. Also, another whole camp of people don't like Bendis stuff because it was so dialogue heavy. It was these characters are actors. But on the plus side, people like you, George, people like me, the reason we love it is because of the character work. It does feel more grounded. It does feel more real. It does feel like, if the Marvel Universe were actually a thing, you'd have Scott Lang getting set up on these weird dates. And even Jessica Jones, whenever she's solving her problem, she has the Rick Jones, and it's like, his wife is crazy, and that's a big problem. Then turns out, Rick Jones, the imposter, he might also be crazy. So why not just let him go be crazy and happy together? And like, it does all part of that longer storytelling where Jessica Jones has to learn to be a hero again, right? And you're watching her take those steps. And that's one of the reasons why that J. Jonah Jameson issue was so great, is because even though you don't see Jessica Jones doing it, like, it's all told from J. Jonah Jameson's point of view, and Robbie being like, what are you going to do? Write about how she fed the homeless and now you're mad at her? But she's starting to do more and more heroic things. She's going from that broken human to that hero, even though once you find out her tragic backstory, you know why she stopped being a hero. You understand, like, why is that such a struggle? I don't know, Andy, you have not talked yet.
1,000% right. You're 1,000%
Andrew
right.
has been the quietest I have ever heard him on this show.
Wow. So, as Chad said, I'm not a huge fan of Bendis. I think I've gone on record on many, many shows saying, for all the reasons Chad mentioned, I think he's talky. I think there's people that do it better than him, whether that's Brubaker, whether that's Warren Ellis, whether it's Matt Fraction. I think they all do it better than him. And to be on Blunt, I feel like he slaughtered a bunch of my sacred cows, and I never forgave him for that stuff. So with this particular book, though, I will say that there's some interesting things that happen.
He brings his own cow. He didn't have to mess with any of yours.
Exactly. That is the good thing about this. He doesn't mess with anybody that I care about.
You should read volume 4, but okay.
If you want a Marvel book that spends an interesting couple of pages talking about why people would pretend to be celebrities, it's a neat little couple of pages, right? You're like, yeah, this is something interesting to talk about. Yeah, and Bendis, if you want to write a movie script, go write a movie script. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing.
God forbid someone does something a little different with the medium than you're used to. You're 10,000% right. Like, especially from this era, because this is peak Marvel Knights era. Like, I think Century was the start of it. I think Century, like, literally walked so Brian Michael Bendis' Alias could run. Like, this is when Marvel gets postmodern. Like, this is the kicking down the door, holy shit, comics are different moment. To me, in my understanding of the way books were being presented back then, this is to me like the key text. This is the Rosetta Stone to understanding the next 15 years of Marvel comic storytelling. And you're 1,000% right to feel the way you do, because I know how much you like the Bronze Age. I know how much you like the sincerity, the earnestness of those books being told. And this is not a sincere book. It's an honest book. This is not an earnest book. It is a postmodern book. And so, like, I totally get not enjoying it at all. But, like, as someone who is just born and bred to love this era, like, this is the most realistic book about realism in a place that's not real. So, like, that's why I think I love it so much. You have Spider-Man, you have Wolverine, you have Captain America, these larger-than-life characters. And the first arc is all about Captain America's secret girlfriend. And then he gets blackmailed, and, like, this movie producer guy is, like, setting all this up to, like, set up a presidential candidate who was going to give him more favors because the last person he got elected isn't responding because he's too close to the capes. And I'm just like, oh shit, this feels stupidly relevant today in some ways. Like, yeah, this guy saw the future, because, like, this book still works a quarter of a century later.
Well, one thing that also works is our commercial breaks. We got to get to them and make sure that they work to give us a couple seconds to collect our thoughts. But we'll be right back with more Last Comic Shop right after this with our ratings and recommendations. So stay tuned for more discussion.
Dakota Brown here, creator of the CBR Comic Crown award-winning Death Comes for the Toymaker, here to tell you about my comic series, Something Beyond the Petrichor. Created alongside artist and horror indie comic star David Lujan, Something Beyond the Petrichor tells the story of a young woman named Jocelyn, her talking stuffed turtle, and a Bible-Belt cryptid who journey through a wasteland devastated by acid rain to search for any remnants of society that might be out there. Be sure to tell your local comic shop that you want a copy.
Hi, I'm Zach Williams, son of the late Robin Williams. While the holidays are a joyful time of year, they can also remind us of what we have lost, who won't be with us at the table, or what isn't going right in our lives when the world around us seems to be full of cheer. I'm here to tell you that there is help and there is hope. If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline connects you to trained crisis counselors 24/7. You are not alone in crisis. Call or text 988 or chat at 988lifeline.org.
All right, we're back with more Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for ratings, where we get to the meat and potatoes of every single episode, 1 out of 4 scale. But we don't have J.A. Scott here this week, so the beautiful, wonderful, talented Nicole Larson is going to give us the 1 out of 4 scale this week. J.A. will be envious for the next couple of weeks because she will do such a good job. So what do we got?
I don't know. I might have picked a kind of obvious thing, but that's okay, right? We are going to rate this VHS tapes showing Captain America with his lady.
Oh, that was not nearly as dirty as I thought it was going to be. Okay, wow, that's great.
What was I going to be dirty about?
1 out of 4 one-night stands with Luke Cage.
That's true.
1 out of 4 coffees talking about it with your friend afterwards. Just like, how was it?
Oh, Lordy, Hannah.
There's literally one line later in the series where it's just like, yeah, you know, I bet if I was a lawyer, I'd bang a lot of lawyers, you know? Where it's just like, this is where I am. You know, like
this is where I live.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my street.
Good stuff.
I think I'll go first.
I was going to say, I think you should go first.
Yeah, why not? This was like the first time I really read this, right? Like I had to pay attention to everything that was going on. The first time I read this, I just glossed over it. I was trying to just get a sense of what happened in Jessica Jones, and all I could see was lots and lots of word bubbles. And I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I get it, because people give me shit. I love Silver Age. There's a lot of word bubbles in that, and it doesn't make any sense because it happens during action sequence. This is not action sequences. It's just Jessica Jones sitting on the John. But it's just kind of like Jessica Jones sitting on the John. How edgy is that? We don't see superheroes go to the bathroom. We should show that. We should show them having sex. We should show them going out and talking like normal people do. I get it. All that stuff is cool and added a complexity and a necessary color to the tapestry of comic books, which was sorely missing. Whether it's Brian Michael Bendis doing it, whether, again, it's Ed Brubaker doing it, whether it's Warren Ellis doing it, whether it's Matt Fraction doing it, all of them added colors to this palette and expanded the horizons of where comic books could go. So Alias, a.k.a. Jessica Jones, is important. Because, again, to George's point, you had like Pulp Fiction and you were like, look at how edgy and cool this is. But in retrospect, I look back at Pulp Fiction and I'm just like, what was the big deal? Like, what was the big deal about Le Big Mac? I don't know. Maybe I'm just old and gray now. Did I need 3 issues about Rick Jones?
I don't think George is ever going to come back.
Listen, he had 25 minutes before to sit on his soapbox. I'm a host with the most on my own show.
All right, what's your rating?
I'm going to give this a solid 2.5. It's important. I hope that you read it if you really want a neat little time capsule to the early 2000s of what was edgy and cool back then. I personally think, like, if you want something that's edgy and cool, go read Warren Ellis on Next Wave. That's much more cool and postmodern. The best part about what I read was the J. Jonah Jameson issue. That is a really good issue. And if I didn't read anything else with that probably earned like 2.25 of the 2.5, like, overall.
Ouch!
So the rest of it is just lots of text boxes and not really great art. And shrugs.
Goodness gracious. I thought I was normally the harsh grader. I would say too, I wasn't a huge fan of the art. I found some of the panels like hard to see, like tell what angle things were. So I will take under advisement George's longer view of this series, and I will take up my reading a little bit with the nuance that, like, we stopped at this 3rd story, because it sounds like there's more of what I want in the future. I don't know that I'll read it because I'm really busy, but and it is a lot of words. And by the way, we all know Andrew doesn't actually like to read a lot, so that's part of why he doesn't like this.
I'm catching strays. It's sad that I can have an opinion on my own show. Sad.
You can have your opinion. It's totally valid. But I'll give it a solid 3. Again, I'm lacking some things that I want. Maybe they're out there in the future. I think I'd like to, in future, read something with a little bit more of the taste of what the show had. I don't know, just because I liked it so much. So I would like to read Purple Man, I guess, at some point and things like that. So I'll give it a solid 3. How's that sound, gentlemen?
There you go.
All right, Chad, you're up next.
I'm notorious in the group for being mad at Pearl Jam for grunge, right? Because, like, Pearl Jam, fine band. But the grunge era they inspired, it was garbage in my mind. It was, low quality. And as a result, I could never like Pearl Jam. I feel like that's how Andy looks at Brian Bendis' work, is it's like grunge for his Silver Age sensibilities. But here's my problem here. I like this stuff. As much as I love the 90s bombast and the aggressive, angry art styles of all the Image guys, I also love Brian Bendis style books, where superheroes just sitting around, crack wise or whatever. I appreciate the vibes of a story like Jessica Jones. I appreciate how hard it is for Bendis and company to have created this character out of whole cloth and integrated her into the Marvel Universe to showcase this side, this more realistic side of Marvel, which had always been, as George alluded to earlier, the world outside your window. And I have always enjoyed the Warren Ellises, the Matt Fractions, the Ed Brubakers, Greg Rucka, another name that we didn't bring up, like that school where they could simultaneously be writing for comics or they could be writing for a police procedural, and their styles could find a place to fit. Like Jessica Jones is impressive to me for all those reasons. And the fact that there is a Jessica Jones show speaks to how impressive this book was. Andy, you're never getting a Next Wave show with Elsa Bloodstone and Elvis Modocs.
That's sad.
I know.
Sad.
It'd be a really good cartoon, though.
But yeah, you're never getting anything nearly as high quality for a myriad of reasons. But now I could go the route that I do with Grunge and like blame Bendis for similar to the Grant Morrison thing, where I think Grant Morrison broke the X-Men with his X-Men run. He told great stories, but you couldn't put the genie back in the bottle with the X-Men universe, and they've been treading water ever since. I think Bendis and Brubaker, I think they broke comics a little bit. The modern style of decompressed storytelling and writing for the trade, now it's kind of annoying. Like at the time it was this revolutionary thing, and cool, the trade market is blowing up. But now, like, I just miss people telling good stories. And there's so many like negatives, I think, that I can associate. People learn the wrong lessons from this era sometimes. And then also, as I go back and I look at 2001 Bendis with 2025 eyes, like there are things in the stories that are cringeworthy. There are things that I'm like breathing in through my teeth, like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if this would fly or, how cool this was to do. But you have to judge things from the time they came from, not the time that you're living in. It's unfair. So at the end of the day, do I think this was successful? Absolutely. Do I think Bendis on Daredevil might have been more successful for me personally? Did it speak to me a little bit more? I think it did. I think the Michael Lark of it all played a bigger part because I think he's a much more successful, I don't know if it's page layouts or what, but he elevates that photo tracing style, whereas Michael Gaydos does a serviceable job. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he wouldn't fit in the great category for reasons I can't verbalize. I'm going to say 3.5. I think it's not as good as some people are going to make it out to be. It's not nearly as bad as some people are going to make it out to be. And if you're a Jessica Jones fan, you deserve to take not only the first 10, run through the first 28 issues. So because of the Bendis decompressed style of storytelling, that you can have something meaty that you can sink your teeth into, but you have to put that effort in. Because let's be honest, 6 issues of a Bendis book, they read like an issue and a half of a Silver Age book. Like you can get those 28 issues in the time you would, a 10 or 12 issue run.
All right, George, you're last.
I don't think this is going to surprise anyone. For the record, I'm going to give this book a 4. I don't think that means the book is perfect. I'm giving it a 4, meaning that is my highest possible level of recommendation to read this book. I think this book changed comics. I think this book helped change the medium, and I understand what you guys were saying about changing to something you might not have liked. I totally get that, but like, no one's mad at the Beatles for what they did to music, so I don't think it's fair to get mad at Brian Michael Bendis for what...
No, there are a lot of people mad at the Beatles, but carry on.
Well, it's just like, I don't care for the Beatles, but like all my favorite bands, their favorite band was the Beatles, is the thing, right? Where like, not my speed, but it's someone's speed who I really respect. And so like, I just think that it's impossible to understand modern comics without taking a glance at this book. So that's why I'm giving it a 4. I'm not saying that it is a perfect book to everyone. I'm saying it's a perfect book to me, but I think it is a 4 out of 4 because it is something you should be aware of if you're trying to understand comics from the last quarter century.
I can get behind that, George. One other thing I can get behind is recommendations. Yes, our time of every single show where we list some other comic books you can get in addition to Alias, aka Jessica Jones. Whether, again, it's in that trade, you get the first 9 issues in one, and then you have to go find issue 10 in a different trade. Or you can just see if you can find the single issues, although I don't know. Those might be pricey. Who knows?
The first issue is really pricey. Every other issue is not that pricey. It's going to be probably hard to find them in dollar bins. Like, I grabbed 2 through 28 in an eBay bundle for like $90 probably, but like that first issue is pricey just because that is the first appearance of Jessica Jones.
Absolutely. But Well, here's some other comic books in addition to that we hope that you check out. We're going to go ahead and start off with Chad. So, Chad, what do you got for us this week?
So, yeah, continuing on the Jessica Jones vibes, I'm going to go across the street to DC, where it was Greg Rucka and Michael Lark doing their own procedural show, whereas Alias was the PI. They went with the Gotham Central Police Department and wrote a Batman book that didn't have Batman in it. You know, it was all about Renee Montoya and the rest of the Gotham PD. And what do you do when you live in a world where it's like, oh, there's this big crazy guy who's inspiring all these other wackadoos to wackadoo all over town, but like, how do regular people cope in a world with Two-Face? But yeah, it's definitely fun if you like the vibes of those cop procedurals, but you want DC tinge to it. If you want to learn to love Renee Montoya for all her foibles and failings, and another character that is heroic in nature, but also prone to not make the best life choices all the time, give Gotham Central a try. It's really awesome.
George, what do you got for us?
I'm just going to recommend the rest of this series just because I thought it was absolutely incredible. Very specifically to Nicole, there's some Kelly Thompson written Jessica Jones books that came out in like 2020 that were like digital first and then made their way to trade paperbacks. I think those books are really good, and I think they're more in line with the TV show. So if you're a fan of the TV show, I recommend those books. I think it was Kelly Thompson and Mattia de Lully. I think it's called Blind Spot and Purple Daughter, I think, are like the two big stories.
Is she still married to Luke Cage? Because I know they had their...
It's complicated.
Uh-oh.
At least they didn't have Mephisto break them up. So
at least that. Also, like, I listed a whole bunch of books when I was doing my timeline. Like, any of those books are in the same spirit of this. If you read this volume and you dig it and you want to read more stuff that feels like that book, read anything I listed during the timeline.
So yeah, what are you going to read though? I mean, again, I know that you're going to. What's your recommendation?
Yeah, so I'm going to be on again in a couple of weeks, and I'm super excited because Brian K. Vaughan is one of like the first people I really started to like with comics, with Saga. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, again, I'm not a huge capes and all of that type of stuff, so his stuff was just very different. And so we are going to be reading on the show. So if this gives you plenty of time to prepare out there, we are going to read Pride of Baghdad. So this was by Brian K. Vaughan and art by Nico Henrikon. And this is an interesting story about lions in the Baghdad Zoo that find themselves in the middle of war-torn Baghdad in the early 2000s. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book. And I won't say too much more just because I want to save it all for the show that we're going to be doing. But that is definitely on our list. And I forget where I found it. Didn't I just find it at the store once?
Yeah, no, it was at Free Comic Book Day this year. You just snagged it. And
yeah, it's just
regardless, that episode will be a part of DC Ember, which is only in a couple weeks. So make sure that you're coming back to the Last Comic Shop for all of the episodes that are coming up in the next couple of weeks for our annual DC extravaganza to end the year. You can do that by going out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, rate, reviewing, and subscribing. We've got great books coming up. We've got Dark Knights of Steel. That's going to be Chad's pick. We've got, obviously, Pride of Baghdad. We've got the Warlord series that DC is finally putting out in omnibus form by Mike Grell. So if you like Vietnam vets going into the center of the earth and swords and sorcery, I'm excited. I'm real excited for that book.
You guys make me buy so many books I swore I didn't care about. Like, I've got like ROM sitting in my cart. I'm going to get this Warlord book now that you mention it. Like, all the goddamn Conan books you guys talk about. Like, ugh.
We've also got New Gods by Ram V and Evan Cagle on that end. And we're going to be wrapping up with Batman Year One as we look forward to 2026 when we'll be reviewing Batman The Dark Knight Returns, which will be the 40th anniversary of that particular book next year. So again, rate, review, and subscribe over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast. Do that thing.
And while we might be the Last Comic Shop podcast, we don't want to be the Last Comic Shop. So we're going to encourage you guys to get out there and find a shop near you where you can find things like The Pride of Baghdad, or you can find things like Gotham Central, or Alias, Jessica Jones, and more Alias, Jessica Jones, and other really great books from the 2000s era. So Andy's just going to recommend more Brian Bendis because he loves it so much.
Especially Avengers Disassemble. Boy, howdy, was there such a great book. Really, really loved everything he did in that series.
Find out why Andy is so mad at that book still 20-some years later. But find out that and more at your local comic shop today. And then circle back to our website, www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, where you can find links to all sorts of things, past shows, mega packs, social media links. And George, what's cooking this week in the merch store?
Oh, this week you can get buy one shot, get one shot free, courtesy of Jessica Jones. We're doing a bar buyback program. Thank you so much, Jessica, for your wonderful service.
Oh,
also, t-shirts and cool tank tops. I have a Last Comic Shop podcast t-shirt. I get asked about it. It's a super comfortable shirt. Cannot recommend it enough.
Well, there you go. And right around the corner, we will be having our Christmas shirt. So if you haven't bought any of our holiday shirts with Santa flying over the shop, make sure you're snagging that so that you can spend the holiday season in style. Thanks to Last Comic Shop. Now, Nicole, you can also make sure that you're picking up all kinds of awesome stuff for the nerds in your life at a little bit of a discount price, right?
Yeah, if you go to BCW Supplies, you can check out all the comic book collecting paraphernalia that your comic book loving husband or spouse or significant other or whomever might want. You know, we're getting into the holidays here. Time to start shopping. So if you use the discount code LCSPOD, you can get yourself a nice little discount and, you know, a little bit of love will be shown to the shop in return. So thank you very much for your support.
Yes. And we hope that you continue to support the Last Comic Shop and come back next week. We're going to be reviewing the Daniel Warren Johnson issues of Transformers. Talk about somebody that's really adding extra color to that palette.
So smooth.
Any case, until then, I was the host, Andy Larson. I was joined by Chad Smith, George from Shortbox Summary, and the beautiful Nicole Larson. We hope that you stay safe. Stay sleuthing. That's right. Go out there, solve a crime.
Or go feed the homeless.
Yeah, buy people tacos and pudding. And
do that stuff. Don't leave the crime solving to crime solvers, but maybe go volunteer at the shelter.
Yeah.
Comic Shop Podcast was a 2025 Black Angus production.